What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. Pretty disturbing article came out about some popular foods that are now behind more people losing their lives than fentanyl. This is the RFK era. I read this article kind of on my own. Thought maybe I should make a video about it because there were a lot of things on this list that I simply did not know about. I knew ultra processed foods very bad, but I had no idea how bad there were and really just how many of them that were in my cabinet that would qualify as that. So let's get into this article. Huge shout out to Meta PCs, promo code The Quartering when you're in the market for a new computer. It's the only computer I use, it's the only computer I recommend to friends and family. Popular food now behind more deaths than fentanyl. Bombshell report warns. Ultra-processed foods could be costing more Americans than fentanyl, according to a shock study. Researchers who analyzed the death records, I don't know what that is, and diet surveys estimated that 120,000 people passed away prematurely in the U.S. could be linked to eating these types of food back in 2018. By comparison, the latest data shows that Fent ODs cost 73,000 Americans in 2022. Both are bad. Ultra-processed foods packed with saturated fats, sugars, and artificial additives are believed to fuel deadly conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and stroke. The new study examined diets across 8 countries, including the US and UK, and mapped how much ultra-processed food ate against mortality rates. Researchers found that 1 in 7 of nearly 1 million premature passings in the United States could be tied directly to ultra-processed foods like meat, candy, ice cream, and even some seemingly healthy salads and breads. We're going to go through a list because when they say meats, they certainly don't mean a steak. They mean the mystery meat lunch meat that so many of us like to buy, including myself, to make sandwiches easier. Researchers found, I had that. Shockingly, the study also found that ultra-processed foods now make up more than half of the calories consumed by the average American, a higher proportion than anywhere else in the world. And for every 10% more ultra-processed food added to a person's diet, the risk of passing away early jumped by 3%. Here we have the data. Premature passings attributable to ultra-processed foods consumption in 8 countries. So in the United States, percent of energy, 54.5%. Population attributable fraction was 13.7%, meaning 906,795, and 124,000 deaths attributed to ultra-processed food consumption. If you look at the UK, they've started to ban a lot of this stuff, so their numbers aren't that bad. Brazil is actually pretty bad as well. Ultra-processed food has long been under scrutiny for containing high levels of saturated fat, salt, sugars, and additives, like emulsifiers and artificial dyes not typically found in home cooking. As a result, the research associated with 32 chronic diseases, including diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and some forms of cancer, Dr. Eduardo Nilsson led a study and lead study author from Oswaldo Cruz Foundation in Brazil, said that UPFs affect health beyond the individual impact of high content of critical nutrients like sodium, trans fats, and sugar because of the changes in the foods during industrial processing. I think what that means is, yes, eating a bunch of trans fats is not good for you, but when you go to these ultra-processed foods, it's even worse because the changes in the foods during industrial processing, they use artificial ingredients, including colorants, artificial flavors, sweeteners, emulsifiers, and many other additives and processing aids. He noted that because of this, assessing deaths from all causes associated with ultra-processed food consumption allows an overall estimate of the effect of industrial food processing on health. Independent researchers, however, cautioned the findings do not prove ultra-processed foods lead directly to early death and called for additional studies. Sure, independent researchers employed by Twinkie Company, by McDonald's, by all this, these other companies, at least hey, I'm all for more research. It's best not to base your entire life off a single study. The team calculated the number of premature deaths in the US, UK, Colombia, and Brazil, Chile, Mexico, Australia, and Canada. Between 2017 and 2018, the US recorded 906,795 premature deaths, defined as dying younger than the country's average life expectancy of 77. The team then collected nutritional data from national surveys to calculate how pervasive ultra-processed foods are in each country's diet. So this is kind of a broad sweep here because, people die in car wrecks or from illness or from, getting struck by lightning or shark attacks. These things happen every year. And if you're just saying broadly, hey, this country eats a lot of ultra-processed foods, therefore all the deaths are affected by ultra-processed foods by this number, there's a lot of flaws with that, knowing that, for example, we have no idea on the individual rate if these people also ate ultra-processed foods or not. But, when you look at every country as a whole, obviously, I think you can take away a lot of the stuff. So here we have Pop-Tarts, Nutri-Grain bars, and Wonder Bread contain additives like calcium propionate, which keeps the food from spoiling, but increase insulin resistance and diabetes risk. Cheetos, soda, and Doritos, I just went back to puberty there. Coloring comes from dyes like yellow 5 and yellow 6, which have been linked to hyperactivity in kids. Ketchup, Sweet Baby Ray's, Coca-Cola, sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, which have been linked to obesity, diabetes, and liver disease. Slim Jims, Hillshire Farms, deli fresh meat packages. I definitely am guilty of eating this stuff all the time. Filled with nitrates, which have been shown to cause certain cancers like breast and prostate cancer. I'm probably going to cut those immediately. That's why stuff like Biltong is probably better. Twinkies, Teddy Grahams, Zebra Cakes contain cornstarch, which has been shown to increase blood sugar. Stuff that's high in saturated fats, like, Stouffer's lasagnas and lean cuisines. What do you notice with all this stuff? It's all built for shelf life, right? You could make a lasagna at home that is not going to be high in saturated fats, refined grains. And you could make pot pies at home, or you could make, I don't know what this is, some sort of TV dinner. You can make something similar at home that's not going to be full of these items. Of course, then going to ice cream, held together with emulsifiers, which research suggests could cause inflammation and irritation in the, throat. It's kind of blocked out. In the gut. This is definitely making me think, hey, it's probably good to really reduce the number of stuff that we eat. How hard is it to avoid ultra-processed foods? Well, here's a clip.
On a day-to-day, I think I eat pretty healthy. I do a lot of fruits and veggies. I do a lot of oatmeal. But let's see if what I'm actually eating is healthy or if I'm just being tricked and actually eating ultra-processed foods.
Yeah, probably.
I'm about to go into Wegmans and we're going to see how processed the foods are that I eat every day. And if I can find, I love the maple and brown sugar flavor because it gives me
but instant oatmeal probably not good.
Whole grain rolled oats and sugar is the second ingredient, so that's not very promising. But then it also has gum, caramel color, a whole bunch of other stuff that I don't know how to pronounce, so not great. One ingredient, organic whole grain rolled oats. So
that's what you buy.
To this. And
I think in general, if you are out there looking to buy, you're just trying to get as few ingredients as possible. That's where like a normal person like myself could probably start. Just looking at, hey, I'm not going to get involved in, I don't know, I can't be a scientist. But you see this, ultra-processed food tied to 124,000 premature passings over the last 2 years in the United States. What's not ultra-processed? Steak, fresh meats, organic meats, most fruits, most vegetables. Obviously, you have to be somewhat careful. I know a guy like Luke Rudkowski would be like, well, you have to be careful about this. Well, sure. But in general, sticking with fruits, vegetables, meats, single, double, triple ingredient stuff, I think is a fair kind of goal to have for most people. In addition to nearly 125,000 premature deaths in the U.S., the study also published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine also estimated more than 25,000 Brazilians passed away prematurely during those years due to poor health outcomes tied to ultra-processed foods. The researchers' statistical model shows more than 17,000 in Britain, 17,000 in Mexico in a single year. Similarly, Canada had more than 7,700. That's pretty small comparatively. Most of these countries with small numbers have a lot more regulation in place, have a lot more stuff in place than the United States does. I, for one, am, definitely become more aware of this kind of stuff since RFK. 21 ultra processed foods you need to avoid, and the ones that are actually healthy. I doubt there's many that are actually healthy, but here's stuff to avoid: ultra processed breads, breakfast foods, fats, condiments, sauces, packaged sweet snacks and desserts, sugar sweetened and artificially sweetened beverages, ready to eat or heat dishes, so TV dinners, meat, poultry, and seafood based ready to eat products such as processed meat. I'm going to make that change immediately. My one question is, I wonder if I get ham from the deli and they slice it off a ham, would that be ultra processed? Because I'd have to see the ingredients probably. Because even though it comes in a fancy package and they slice it for you, is it also packed with, all sorts of preservatives and stuff like that? Popular chips like Doritos, Cheetos, and Ruffles, for example, have their dyes in them for now. Not great. You can have asthma, wheezing, mental health issues, adverse sleep-related outcomes, anxiety, combined common mental disorders, depression, metabolic health, hyperglycemia, being overweight, plus overweight and obesity, type 2 diabetes, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. I'm thinking about trying a 30-day cleanse of just, fresh food and fruit and vegetables. No chips, no crackers, stuff like that. Homemade bread, and just see how I feel. So I feel like it would probably be worth it. I know it's more expensive to do, and it's obviously more time consuming, but you'll have more time to make your fruits and vegetables if you're not dead, I suppose. Let me know what you think about this study. I hope you're informed like I was. I was informed right along with you reading it. We'll talk to you again real soon.